College football is back, and Week 0 kicks things off this weekend. We get game in Dublin, Ireland. 10th-ranked Florida State Seminoles take on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. By the way, Jenny, have you ever had an international assignment?
I have, multiple with CBS.
Okay.
I did the first round of NFL games in London. That was fun. Back
Jet
in the
lag,
day.
all that good
jet
stuff.
lagged, and then I was able to cover World's Strongest Man in Africa and the Philippines.
That is awesome.
Thank you,
Jealous,
CBS.
by the way. First game involving a Big 12 team is UCF hosting New Hampshire a week from today. Conference newcomers Utah are the betting favorite to win the league, and we're given the same honor over at Media Days. There's also, in terms of Week 0, getting back to this weekend, SMU at Nevada. Amanda Guerra will be in Reno for that game on CBS Sports Network.
That one's kicking off at 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. I'm just excited that we have college football back. I feel like life is just better when there's football in it, right?
There's almost like imagine a sampler appetizer dish, because we've got a game in Dublin, Ireland. We've got a nearly 4-touchdown favorite in one game. And then we have an FCS team on the road, favored by double digits at New Mexico, who has a new head coach.
I didn't know if you were going to bring up the midnight Hawaii game as well.
Oh, got to give love for Hawaii and thoughts and prayers for Delaware State with the travel that they've got to have going on. All right, we got Shehan Jeyarajah and Danny Kanell joining us here to talk about the Big 12. And Danny, I'll start with you because I don't know if it surprised you, but again, Utah, conference newcomer, thought to be the team to beat there. What do you think about the Utes heading into their new season in their new league?
Tommy, I'm not surprised at all that they're the preseason favorite. The media picked them at Big 12 Media Days because they've been the team to beat in the Pac-12, which last season and a couple of last few years has been deeper than the Big 12, the conference that he's entering. Kyle Whittingham, who finally I think is starting to get the recognition that he deserves, one of the best coaches in college football, deserves all the credit he gets. Last year was a down year pretty much for one reason. It was because he was playing a pig farmer at quarterback with Cam Rising out for the year. Now that Cam Rising is back healthy, it's a big reason why the Utes are the favorites there. This is a dynamic quarterback who comes back. He's one of the oldest quarterbacks in the entire country. He's got a wealth of experience, and he's got talent around him too. He's got Brant Kuithe, one of the better tight ends. They play a ton of 10 personnel, and one of his favorite targets, Dorian Singer, a transfer wide receiver and a strong run game, and a defense which consistently is always one of the best in the country. And I wouldn't expect any different from the Utes in the first year in the Big 12. So no surprise, Utah, one of the strongest candidates for a conference champ.
Got to give some love to Kansas State as well. The Wildcats have some respect. They won 19 games over the past 2 seasons, and they have their sights set on making the expanded college football playoffs. We all know the easiest path to get there is to win your conference. Is there an opportunity that Shehan, that you could see them winning the Big 12?
No question about it. I mean, this Kansas State team, I think, along with Utah, is really the class of the conference right now. This is a Kansas State team, like you mentioned, that's been deep into the conference championship race each of the past couple of years. They won the whole thing back in 2022. And I think if they give themselves a chance in Arlington, they have a really good chance to come out with a victory. This is going to be a team that looks a little different than in years past, but part of it is because they have one of the most exciting young quarterbacks in college football, Avery Johnson, taking over as a second-year player. He was a former top 100 recruit, one of the best players to ever commit to Kansas State. And defensively, this team, like Utah, is one of the best in the conference and one of the best in the country as well. The other thing to keep an eye on them is that they have potentially the best rushing offense in the Big 12, not just with Avery Johnson as a rusher, but DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards coming over from Colorado. They have so many different ways to attack you. So outside of Utah, this has to be one of the top teams on the list to compete for the Big 12 and the college football playoff.
Those are impressive ranks last season for K-State. If we continue the conversation of sort of challengers for the Utah Utes, Danny, Oklahoma State, speaking, Shehan was talking about K-State maybe look a little different. Oklahoma State's going to be looking the same, including Ollie Gordon III here when they put it out there and get on the field. Danny, you got me?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll take it. Oklahoma State. So they have one of the most veteran-laden offensive lines with a running back in Ollie Gordon, who comes back after what he did last season was absolutely phenomenal. Once they started figuring it out, okay, this is our featured back. Alan Bowman needs to take a big step forward, though, for Mike Gundy at quarterback. Way too many turnovers last year. But if you talk about coaches, we were talking about Kyle Whittingham earlier, Mike Gundy consistently delivers a winner almost every time as well. And don't forget, this is a team last year that lost to Texas in the Big 12 playoff, or excuse me, Big 12 championship game as well. So no surprise they're in this conversation, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see them there at the end of the year as well with one of the best backs. My one concern for them, a little bit too dependent on Ollie Gordon, and in a 12-game season coming off where he was second in the country in carries, if he gets banged up, I think it's a big concern for the Cowboys.
Well, and I think the other piece that you have to think about with Oklahoma State is, can they replicate some of the close game luck that they were able to do last season? They were 4-1 in close games last season. And like Danny said, a lot of it on the back of Ollie Gordon at running back. They have to be a little bit more balanced on the offensive side of the ball. And they also need to improve the defense that ranked among the bottom 30 in the country in total defense. Now, when you look at the production that they have coming back, they're number 3 nationally in returning production. There's a lot of optimism that they can be a team that can do it, but a lot has to go right, and it's not going to look exactly the same from that perspective as it did last season.
Let's talk about a little dark horse action. That's what I love to hear. The teams that you might not expect to show up as big as they might, and that's going to be UCF potentially this year. Now, KJ Jefferson transferring over from Arkansas. Seen a lot of KJ Jefferson in my life. He's an incredible quarterback, so they have that going for them. Gus Malzahn in his 4th year as a head coach. DK, what do you like about UCF?
So I like to buy low on UCF because coming off a year where they were 6-7, it looks like, oh man, what happened after back-to-back 9-win seasons for Gus Malzahn? All of a sudden, people are like, wait, what's going on there? Well, that was their first year making that jump from the American to the Big 12. Now that they've had another offseason to be able to add to the portal and add a player like KJ Jefferson, Jenny, who, as you mentioned, I think is the perfect quarterback for what Gus Malzahn wants to do within that system. He can run, he's physical, he can handle the workload within the SEC. I think he'll handle it just perfectly in the Big 12. And plus, you add R.J. Harvey and Penny Boone, 2 really dynamic backs in the backfield with them. They're going to go fast and furious at everybody they face. I think the defense will be improved as well. And a friendly schedule where they play a lot of talented teams at home. I think UCF is worthy of that dark horse title.
Let's get to Kansas and Lance Leipold and the health of his quarterback, Jaylen Daniels. Shehan, is always a question coming into the season. How much of that will play into what KU's success will be when 2024 is all said and done?
Well, there's no question. I think that you could make the case that Jaylen Daniels is the single most consequential player in the Big 12 in 2024. Look around the rest of the roster. This is a roster that's ready to win. They have an unbelievable amount of 5th-year seniors at wide receiver, Devin Neal back at running back, a talented offensive line, a defense, by the way, that doesn't look like some of the Kansas defenses of old. They actually have 2 preseason all Big 12 picks in the secondary, but it all comes down to Jaylen Daniels. They don't have a backup quarterback like what Jason Bean was last year, who can just step in and really keep things on track. Their primary backup heading into 2024 is a former walk-on in Cole Ballard. So Jaylen Daniels, when he's healthy, is one of the best in college football. He rated among the top when you look at stats like QBR and passer rating during his 2022 campaign. Wasn't able to play the entire Big 12 season in 2023. If he's back to himself in 2024, this is easily a team that has a chance to contend for the Big 12 title.
Going to talk about the Colorado Buffaloes next. They did not have the right personnel on the lines of scrimmage to compete in the Pac-12 last year. We saw that firsthand, but now they have a revamped roster. Year 2 under Deion Sanders. There were such high expectations last year. DK, what do you think about this season?
Man, Jenny, I have no idea what to expect. I mean, I know we're going to get entertained and there's going to be a lot of excitement and enthusiasm around this team. But once again, turning over the roster, something we don't see a ton. The roster is upgraded. You bring back Shedeur Sanders, who I do think is a legit top 10 NFL candidate. Travis Hunter, if he stays healthy, the 2-way player who's one of the best corners and receivers in the country. You bring in Warren Sapp to help on the defensive line. They've kind of reloaded through the transfer portal again. But the one thing I don't know is what's the chemistry like, and what happens if they lose a couple games like they did last year? Could it come off the rails and they have another 6-game losing skid to end the season? But if things go well, we saw what they can do at their best. This is a team that I don't think is crazy to think could get 8 or 9 wins. I wouldn't bet it. I wouldn't run to the window, but I think there's no question it'll be one of the more exciting, entertaining, maybe even drama-filled teams to watch this season.
I think we just got something else we can clip that Danny said to send to Coach Prime. I think, and all that things that we've had, especially last year and what happened. All right, Big 12 bold prediction time, and we're going to get takes from both of you. Shehan, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, a team that we didn't talk about that I think will be right in the thick of things at the end of the year is Iowa State. They only finished 7-6 last year, but people forget because they started 1-2 in non-conference play. They finished 6-3 in conference play. They compete with everybody. They beat Oklahoma State along the way. And by the way, Iowa State is the team that returns the most production in college football. They've got a quarterback in Rocco Beck that I think deserves a lot more respect. The best returning defense in the Big 12 as well. And at receiver, they've actually got some really legitimate options in Jaden Higgins and Jaylen Noel, two of the best players, I would argue, to come through at wide receiver in recent years. This Iowa State team is ready to go. The program has never won 10 games. They haven't won a conference championship since 1912. Don't be surprised if they're a team that's right there at the end of the year.
Sean, I like it. Matt Campbell had an absolute mess on his hands last year and salvaged that after the gambling scandal. Salvaged that, found a quarterback, so I like him too. I'm going to go with UCF, a team we talked with before. I think they start off the season 4-0 with a big win against Colorado at home at the Bounce House and a chance to go to Gainesville. Depending on how the Florida Gators season starts, UCF could pull off one of the big upsets early in the season against the Gators. But I think their success continues, and I think they get to 9 or 10 wins as well and make it to the Big 12 title game. I do think it's interesting. The boldest will go as teams getting to the Big 12 championship. I'm still on Utah, but I think UCF gets there with a chance to play them.
Bold predictions and a look at some of the top teams in the conference with Shehan Jeyarajah and Danny Kanell. Guys, certainly appreciate it. Check out the Cover 3 podcast with DK, Bud Elliott, Tom Fornelli, and Chip Patterson. Scan that QR code however you listen to your podcast. Also, check them out on YouTube.